Good day, everyone. This is Akinaju Oladipo. Welcome to my YouTube page. I'll be introducing my page shortly, and the YouTube channel is all about explaining to prospective students and professional, both academic and professional, who are on the verge of writing exams, on how best to tackle some problems, exam problems, when they face one. I've started my session with linear programming. And of all the linear programming techniques I'll be looking at transportation. For linear programming, there are three basic methods you can use in solving a linear programming problem. You can use a linear equation, you can use a graphical method, and you can use a simplex method. For resources that definitely because we have limited resources and we have to maximize these resources to be able to achieve profit or minimize cost. We we use linear equation and graphical method to solve problems pertaining to resources that limited resources that are based on two variables. That means our limitation is no more than two, and limitations are no more than two resources. Limitation no more than two resources. But where we have limitations that transcend beyond two resources, linear equation and graphical method cannot help us with the solution. So the need for us to also understand the method simplex, which is multifaceted, where you can solve problems with more than two limited resources. But I would take my time in dealing with other techniques in linear programming, uh, which basically are transportation and assignment. Assignment we'll talk about later, but transportation, I will delve into transportation, explaining the types, uh, the process of initialization, the process of optimization, and also the process of achieving optimum uh, transport cost. There are three basic methods involved in initialization of a transportation problem, and they are basically northwest corner rule. You have a least cost method and Fourier approximation. Least cost method is a method that is principled on the basis of least cost. When you're allocating uh, any cell at all in a transportation table, the focus is always on the least cost. So you allocate first to the list of all the costs you have in all the cells you have in the transportation table, and you continue allocating to all the other cells as it requires based on the least cost. Also considering both demand and supply, you always allocate the lower of demand and supply at any point in time. For Northwest Corner rule, the basic principle is for you to allocate units first to the cell that is on the northwest corner of the transportation table, and that's like top most left corner of the table. Irrespective of the cost you have in that cell, you allocate your first unit to that cell. If the cost there is far higher than every other cost, you cannot make use of any other cell except that cell that has the highest cost. So you allocate to the highest cost. And what you have to note is this: uh, in, ach- in achieving optimization, you will do more. You have to do more iteration for you to reach optimum cost because of the way allocation is being done under Northwest Corner rule. Uh, and the cost you have on that Northwest Corner, that's the initial total cost, is always higher than any of the other transports initialization methods, like the least cost and Vogel approximation. And for the northwest corner rule, you once you're able to allocate all the cells, you multiply the unit allocated by the cost, and this is added to every other cell with the same with the same allocation. Might not be necessary. They might not be the same quantities, but in as much as you have an allocation in a particular cell, they are multiplied by their various costs and added together to get the initial transportation cost. It is based on this cost that you can determine whether you have to optimize further or not. And for linear programming, for transport, for for list costs, the same goes to list costs because that's you use list cost in allocation, and the cost you have under it is far higher, is far lower compared to that you have under north west corner. Uh, and the third method is the Fourier approximation. It's a very technical method, but a very good method, which saves time and also help you achieve initialization and optimization at the same time. The reason why a lot of students shy away from this method is because it's very technical. But once you understand the basics of allocating units under the Fourier approximation, you just prefer using the method because it initializes and it optimizes at the same time. And the reason why this is so is because you make use of penalty cost, and in determining your penalty cost, you consider all the rows and the columns. You determine the list cost and the next list cost, so that the list cost is deducted from the next list cost, and you get the penalty cost for the each of the rows. When you're able to determine all the penalty cost for each of the rows and all the columns, for the rows, you identify the penalty cost with the highest cost. That row form the basis of allocation. And once you allocate to that, you identify the least cost in that row when you're allocating, and you allocate the lower of either demand and supply. And also know that the principle of least cost come into place. You have to be particular about cost. So the least cost principle comes into play. You allocate to the least so the cell with the least costs in that row. You go to the column to identify the column with the highest penalty. So you allocate to that one too, on the basis of both demand and supply by allocating the lower of both either demand and supply. And once you have done this, you you do the penalty again, and you continue until you're able to allocate every unit. And at the end of the day, by the time you multiply the units, the cells allocated, and the cost in that, you multiply them all together and add them, you get your optimum cost. The reason why I say this is optimum cost is because we are using penalty costs in allocation. When you use penalty cost in allocation, it takes care of a lot of technicalities uh, uh, in the process of allocation, so that at the end of the day, you're able to achieve optimization at first allocation. Unlike each other methods where you need to do, you have to iterate before you can get optimum solution. And that's a Vogel approximation for you. So in exam, or if you're not given any method to use in determining your transport costs, I would advise you use least costs because it's the one that's uh, can is you understand you easily understand that more, and you can do your optimization very easily. Though Vogel remains the best, but if you know Vogel approximation, If you know Voyager approximation, you can use it. It's very good. So it saves you time. So you're able to initialize at the same time and also optimizes at the same time. But as soon as where the examiner specifically state the kind of method you have to use, please go by the examiner's method. Don't prove that you know too much. Use the examiner's method. And after you have done the initialization, you optimize your solution. In optimizing your solution, you use two methods: stepping stone method or modified method. I'll be talking about stepping stone method here, not modified. That modified can come on some other time. But stepping stone method is for you to identify all the cells that were not allocated to. You will investigate those cells and put those cells in the circuit by identifying the various all the edges in that circuit for you to improve your solution. And by the time you do that, you add positive and negative arbitrarily on each of the costs. So that by the time you add up all the costs together, you get a cumulative cost. The one that gives you the highest negative shows the circuit which you can reduce cost further. And if you're able to identify this, you isolate that particular circuit. And when you select that circuit, you add units to the cell that has positive on it. You deduct units from the one that has negative on it. You add to the one that has positive, you deduct from the one that has negative. In which case, the circuit gives you a new set of units entirely, which are the first set of units that you input into a new transportation table for the other units uh, are brought in. Just it should be of note that irrespective of which method you're using in initialization, the optimization process remains the same. And you must make sure that the units that you allocate initially that you have on your transportation table does not change. It's just the ones that have been allocated to cells that are adjusted to be able to optimize the transport costs. Because if you have changes in those units that you have initially imputed, where you have the demand and supply, then there's a problem somewhere. And to guard against this, so just make sure that you review it and make sure that all the units, the demand and supply remains the same. And by the time you do this the first time, the second time, uh, until you're able to get to a point where the cumulative transportation cost gives you positive or zero, at that point you know that you have reached a point of optimization. You can't reduce cost further in any of the circuits. So whatever it is you have in that transportation table becomes the optimal one, which you can use to plan your financials. You can include the cost in determining your profit at the end of the day. Uh, and also for you can talk about profit too. On the using transport costs, you can decide to have customers who are willing to pay more for a particular product. All you just need to do is identify those customers and just turn around the process of optimization. Where you have you select the highest positive in this highest negative. In this case, we're selecting the highest positive. And when you select the highest positive, you do the iteration and you're able to get the customers that you can sell to more, who are willing to pay for more product, will begin more uh, uh, for the sale of a particular product. That's what I have for you from this session. Hopefully, I'll be coming around also to, to take it on the visualization of this process. How you go about initialization, impute determining initial transport cost, and also optimization to get a, a an optimum cost using in the translation problem. Thank you for listening. I hope to see you soon. Have a wonderful day and bye.